Hey, Aharon here, and in this video, we're going to look at how to create this effect using a combination of Maxon Cinema 4D and Video Copilot Element 3D. We'll be using a really cool feature from Cinema 4D called Voronoi Fracture to make it happen. So let's jump right into Cinema and let's get started. So here I am in Cinema 4D, and I'm going to add in a sphere. So with that done, I'll just go and add a bunch more segments just so we get a little bit of a smoother sphere. And once I've done that, I'm going to go into the MoGraph menu and choose Voronoi Fracture. From there, I'm going to take the sphere and I'm going to drop it right into the Voronoi Fracture object. Okay, what happens here is that we suddenly see that our sphere has pieces that are different colors. These are not the colors that it's going to render with. This is just a representation of the different pieces. So Cinema 4D is coloring things differently so that we can tell which pieces are which. Now, what I'd like to do is give it a lot more pieces, right? So I'm going to go into the sources area right here, and I'm going to choose this point generator here, right here, and I'm going to set the point amount up quite a bit, just to create many, many different pieces. 240, why not? Okay, now, what I want to do is just come back over here to the Voronoi Fracture and show you that we can look at this, the colorized fragments, we can uncheck this, and we can see what it looks like with materials on it. Right now, it has no real material, it's the basic material, and we're gonna add two different materials, one for the outside and one for the inside. So what I'd like to do next is go into the selections area here, and I'm going to choose inside faces. So the next thing I'll do is choose a material to add one, and I will go into the material, and I'll make that material red, and then I'm going to apply that material right onto the Voronoi Fracture. And with this material selected, right here you can see we have our inside tag, right? I'm going to drag this inside tag and I'm going to drop it right into the selection area here for the material. And suddenly it becomes white again, going back to its default material. But I'd like to see, is it really hitting the inside or not? So let's find out. With Voronoi Fracture selected, I'm going to go back into my object and I'm going to use offset fragments just to kind of take a look inside. We can make the fragments smaller, and sure enough, we can see that the inside is now red. Bring that back down to 0. I'm going to, again, add another material. This material right here, I'll drop it onto the Voronoi Fracture. I'm going to go to my selection area here in the Voronoi Fracture, and I'm going to choose outside faces. And with outside faces selected, I'm going to take my outside faces tag and I'm going to drop it right here on the selection. Okay, so now we've got this done and we've got these lots of pieces, and the next thing to do is to hit C to convert it to an editable object. So we can no longer make Voronoi changes to it, we can only change the scale, that sort of thing, but it's very basic at this point. We've converted it from something that was malleable to something that's a lot less malleable. But this is all we need to do in Cinema 4D. I'm going to go to File, Save Project As, and we'll just call this Sphere Parts. And I'll click Save. Okay, we're done in Cinema 4D, so now let's jump into Element 3D. So here I am in After Effects, and I'm going to add in a new solid layer, and I'll click OK. I'm going to choose Effect, Video Copilot, and Element, and from there I'm going to hop into Element, and once I'm inside, I'm going to choose Import, and I'll choose my Sphere Parts C4D file, and I'm going to click Open, and from there, OK, and OK. Now we've got our sphere in here. But the question is, even though I can see these two materials, how do I know that on the inside that material is still there? Well, if we twirl down this right here where it says Sphere Parts, we can turn off the outside material, which shows us what's going on the inside, and there we can see that we've got this other material on the inside. So that's working as it should be. Now let's just click on OK and come out here and we can see our sphere. And the way that we can separate out these pieces and have them explode outwardly is that we have to tell Element that these pieces are to be treated like a separate object. Like each one is its own thing. So we'll go into Group 1, twirl down, go into the particle look, and from there we will look into multi-object and enable that. Once I've done that, a whole bunch of changes happen to the user interface. And what I'll do here is I'm going to go to Displace, and right here you can see if I displace it out, we get a nice looking separation of the pieces. Hit Control Z, bring us back to there, and I'm going to set a keyframe for that separation. Okay, so I'll hit Displace, maybe go to 2 seconds out, and I'm going to displace this out a ton. All right, so let's just hit U to reveal the keyframes. All right, let's take a look. Okay, cool, we've got a nice explosion going. Okay, I'm also going to turn up the displace random a bit, so we can set it something like 30%. And what it does is it makes it so that as the pieces are moving away from the center, they're moving at what seems like a different speed. So let's take a look at that now. Okay, the next thing I want to do is give it some random rotation. So we're going to pull this out here just so I can see. Let's start with X rotation multi. We'll set a keyframe at the beginning of 0, and we'll move it down in time to here. And why don't we say, let's give it 2 full rotations, and let's see what that looks like. So the pieces are all rotating out. And I'm also going to keyframe the rotation random multi, just so that we get a little more randomness in that rotation. Come to here, and again, I'll just set this to a rotation random of 1 full rotation, and see how that looks. Definitely feeling a lot more random. Okay, the last thing to do is to just change up the materials a little bit. And all I've got to do is go into my presets. I've got the Pro Shaders and the Pro Shaders 2. I'm going to go into Stone here. And for the inside, I'll use something like Stone 06 for the inside material. For the outside, I'll go into Pro Shaders 2, go to Stone, and I'll choose this one, Stone Rock Wall, for the outside material. I'll click on OK, and let's take a quick look. Of course, don't forget to turn on motion blur, but that makes it show the motion already from the first frame. So I'll just hit U to show the keyframes. I'm going to move this out. Right. I'm also going to end the comp right here. And what we'll do is add in a new camera. Click on OK, and I'll hit the position. And over time, I'll be zooming in slightly just to give it some extra motion. And here we go. Of course, you can also do this with text and logos and other things. Once again, I'm Aharon. I'll see you soon.